amazing that to blow that much stuff out of your head and still hold your head up.
And it comes right back.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a dollar, it comes right back. Well, I got kids a little bit of kid.
Did you find your clicker?
I did. It was up in this mess.
Oh, okay.
It was in the mess. In the mess. Yeah, find out where I'm at here. All right, guys. We'll see if this works real quick. Old song. I like this song. I know Miss Ann and Mr. Chris has heard it. Chris, I don't know about it.
We turn the page for a new day has dawned, and we will rearrange what is right and what's wrong. And somehow we drifted so far from the truth that we can't get back home. And where are the virtues that once gave us light? Where are the morals that governed our lives? And someday we all will awake and look back just to find what we lost. Oh, we need to get back to the basics of life. A heart that is pure and a love that is blind. A faith that is firm and a leg grounded in Christ. A hope that endures for all time. Oh, and these are the basics. We need to get back to the basics of life. If you believe that tonight, let me hear you say, man. The newest rage is to reason it out. Just to meditate and you can overcome every doubt. After all, there is a God. They say God is no longer alive. No, but I still believe in the old rugged cross. Oh, I still believe there is hope for the lost. And I know the rock of all ages will stand through the changes of time. Changes of time. We need to get back to the basics of life. Oh, a heart that is pure and a love that is blind. A faith that is firm and a leg grounded in Christ. The hope that endures for all time. Oh, and these are the basics. We need to get back to the basics of life. Oh, and we felt the darkness. It fade us too long. We gotta turn the tide. And we need the precious gold that burn long ago. So let open our eyes. Yeah, there's a long
That was their reunion tour in 2006. For Him is the name of the group. I actually sung that a few times. I've got the track to that. That's an awesome song. I ain't sung it in years, but I ran across it last night and I said, ooh, we'll just put that in there. So we are going to pick back up in Galatians again. And let me turn my phone down. I forgot. Sorry, y'all. I know, really. Somebody will, I promise. We'll pick up where we left off. Galatians 4 will be in verse 12. Let's see here. Yeah, I done turned it down. I got a call. Yeah, really. So there's another. I want to put these words up here, and this is another song. It's just not a long song, just some real short. Some of you may recognize this. In fact, most of you recognize this. And it's not really what we'd call a church song or a Christian song, but it is to a point. But you should recognize it. But all I want you to do is listen to the chorus, because this kind of goes with what our lesson is talking about. Some of y'all may recognize. Anybody ever heard of Holly Dunn before? The singer Holly Dunn, country singer. So here. Oh, wait a minute. No, she didn't sing that.
Daddy's hand, soft and kind when I was bright. Daddy's hand, hard to steal when I've done wrong. Daddy's hands were always gentle, but I understand. There was always love in Daddy's hands.
Y'all remember that song?
Yes.
His hands weren't always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands, right? So, if anybody that knows anything now, and I use this loosely, when I was doing this, my family will understand this. I was thinking about Bear, my dog, our dog. Tracy's dog, somebody's dog. He's an orphan who just got adopted in with the rest of them. And anyway, he has ADD. He has mental problems. He lived up from Tracy and him. I mean, what do you expect? But anyway, he has these issues. But it's funny because he'll do something wrong, and I'll go in there and I'll bust his tail, real good, and holler at him. He gets upset and he's gone. Well, when he comes back with his head down. He'll come over and he'll put his head on your knee. And you just pet him for a minute. He's just so loving, for a few minutes after that. And I think about kids, because the same thing. You get a kid that does something wrong, you tan their hide. And some people do anyway. Some people haven't read the Bible and still don't understand that a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Anyway. But you whip that child, and it's that moment after the whipping when you punish them, and now you show them that you still love them. That's one of the tenderest moments between a parent and a child. Which Tracy didn't do that. But y'all know what I'm talking about, though. It's that tender moment after the punishment or after the discipline, or you really just blanked on them and went off the deep end on them, and then you show them, okay, I don't hate you, I love you. I do this because there's a reason why I do this. It's because I love you. And as we went through this, we have heard Paul absolutely going off on the Galatians. And I can't stress that enough. I know we kind of brushed it. No, he was hot. When he started this book and this letter to the Galatians, he didn't start out, oh, my beloved brethren, or nothing like that. He said, you bunch of foolish Galatians. That's what he said. Who bewitched you? Who fooled y'all? That's what he said. We went through the lessons, y'all heard it. He said, and I still like to use that, foolish Galatians, when we're riding down the road. Miss Ann, I don't cuss them, I don't cuss them or nothing. I just, foolish Galatians, and they keep driving, it works better that way. Anyway, and I've noticed there's a lot of Galatians at Walmart, by the way. So if y'all go to Walmart, you'll see a lot of Galatians at Walmart. So anyway, but Paul has absolutely went off. He is belligerent. And I try to put myself in these places and these people and try, as best you can. And I can imagine him sitting down, because he wasn't talking to him, he's writing them a letter, right? And so he is hot. He is very upset. He is very mad, and he is just absolutely going off. And I wrote a lot of this down. He's using sarcasm. None of us use that when we get mad, right? Exhortation. He used confrontation. He used guilt. He used logic. He used Old Testament. I mean, he used every means necessary to blow them out of the water. That's what he did. I mean, he just has literally blasted it. And every lesson we've done, the first, 8 lessons that we did? I mean, it's been pretty stout. I mean, it's really, are y'all so stupid? That's what he was saying to them. So, I mean, he has really been going off on these people. And if we judge Paul by the first 3 chapters of this book, we would have to say he's a jerk. I mean, really. I mean, come on, dude. Here's what I pictured. Y'all gonna laugh at me, but here's what I pictured. I pictured my mama. Because I get up here and say stuff, sometimes Mama will go, I'm being too harsh, or I'm being too direct, or I'm being too insulting, or whatever you want to use that word, and Mama gives you that. She'd have had a heck of a time with Paul on it. You need to hush. You need to hush. And this is where he was at. I mean, he is literally has gone off the deep end on these Galatians for 3 whole chapters, right? And if we judge everything that Paul did on those first 3 chapters, we'd have to say, man, this guy was he was a jerk. I mean, really, that's what we'd think. But there's not just 3 chapters, there's 4 chapters, right? And as we get into 4 and then actually into the middle of 4, we will see that Paul has and anybody that's a parent or anybody's got dogs or anything like that, you'll know I done got past my venting. I done had my say. I done said my piece. I done got it out, Miss Debbie. And now my whole demeanor's about to change. Now I'm remembering who I am and who you are. I done blowed my stack. I done said what I wanted to say. I done got it off my chest. But my whole demeanor's about to change. And Paul's whole thing is about to change. In fact, if you remember when we talked about how he started the book, it was not my beloved brethren. It wasn't anything like that. But as we get into the halfway point of chapter 4, this is what he starts calling them. He starts saying, my brethren. He starts talking about my little children. You see how his whole demeanor has changed now? And people think, you can think or blow that off that he was being really angrily harsh with them. But as you see as we go through this, he's saying, I wish I didn't have to be like this. I wish I didn't have to have this tone with you, but you're not listening. I've got to be truthful with you. And we'll kind of get into that. So we've seen Paul, the freedom fighter. Y'all remember some of those lessons? We've seen the defender of faith. Now we're going to see Paul, the pastor. We're going to see Paul, the passionate lover of souls. This is what we're about to see. We're about to see the other side of Paul. And everybody knows you've been in church sometime, and you know you've done something you weren't supposed to do. And you would swear that somebody told the preacher about it, because he gets up and preaches on it the very next Sunday and starts wearing your head out. And you're like, who talked to you? And you won't realize the Holy Spirit did talk to him. It probably was meant for you. But that's what a pastor. And so he hits you right between the eyes, and it makes you mad. And you get all upset. And you get ill with him until you realize, I would rather him be straightforward than to sugarcoat. One of the things I like about our new CEO that we got at our place, A lot of people still trying to feel him out, and I am too. I haven't really got a whole lot of time to talk to him, but one of the really good things I like about him is he's very straightforward. If you got an issue, he wants you to come and tell him what it is. He don't want you sugarcoating it and walking around to something. Just tell him what the problem is, what's going on. You know, and he comes to you the same way. He's just very, very straight. I like that. I like somebody that's going to come up and be straightforward, straight up with me, especially somebody that you love. I'd much rather Tammy come up and say, honey, them pants look awful. You know what I'm saying? Or than her just blow it off and not say anything. Then when I get to mama's going to tell me, Marty, you need to go get you another pair of pants on. Right? I mean, I want you to be straightforward with me. Even, let me say, when it hurts sometimes. Even when what they're saying just absolutely rips my heart out. Sometimes we got to hear the truth. Even when it hurts. And especially when it comes from the pulpit. And so, and then sometimes, really, I mean, if you get into some things, sometimes even the preacher's got to hear the truth. I remember one time we were in Tennessee and there was something that was going on. I'm not going to get into details. But I confronted our pastor and I said, something ain't right with that, Bill. What you said ain't making sense. And it really didn't come off right. And we sat down and talked about it. And he said, you know what? He said, brother, I didn't even think about it. He said, but you're right. And he said, I'm just glad you was willing to come up and tell me, you know. I said, well, I mean, I knew you didn't mean it that way. And so, but sometimes everybody needs that. And if we love that person and they love us, we should be able to go up and say, hey, Brother Scott, man, blah, 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 blah. And he might get mad and he may get upset to start with, but when he looks back, he'll say, you know what? He did because he loved me. It might take a few days to get over, who's he tell me what? You know what I'm saying? Ain't that how we usually get? Who you to tell me something? But sometimes we just need people to be forward with us and tell us. And so Paul is talking to these people. And let's kind of get into this. So through those harsh 3.5 verses that we went through, now we want to get into Paul's love for the Galatians. And you say, boy, as harsh as he's being, how are you going to show love? And so we'll get into some of that. So the first thing is Paul's appeal. Look at these verses. Verse 12. First of that verse. Brethren, I beseech ye, be as I am, for I am as ye are. Kind of tricky wording. Paul says, be free like I'm free. I am not caught up in all this law and all this stuff and this bondage and stuff. I want you to be like I am. I want you to have a freedom in Christ that you don't have to worry about this other stuff anymore because we're both saved. We're all part of the same family, Miss Debbie. I don't care if you're Methodist or Baptist or Pentecostal or Presbyterian. We're all part of the same family. I just want you to be able to enjoy your salvation. I want you to be free. He keeps preaching that over and over and over through all these verses. And Paul knows something that they don't know. And get this, I thought this was kind of cool. This David Jeremiah bringing stuff. It's really, really cool, Miss Debbie. Paul knows something that the Galatians didn't know. Remember, the Galatians are Gentiles. Right? So they weren't raised up obeying the law, making sure this Sabbath, and eating this, and sacrificing this, and following this rule, and this regulation, and doing all this stuff. They didn't know none of that stuff. Paul did. In fact, if you study Paul's life, Paul was dead set on all of it. He said he was the Jew of Jews. He was Mr. By the book. Everything. That's why he was hunting down Christians and trying to kill them. Paul was specifically by the rules. You got to do this, you got to do this, Paul knew that. He said, listen, I've been somewhere you ain't been. I was there. I know what it's like to be under bondage. I know what it's like. You didn't even know, and now you're getting introduced to this, and people's trying to tell you, well, you can be saved, but you got to be able to do this, and you got to do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you got to do this, and you can't do this, and you can't go there, and you got to go there. You can't do all this stuff. And Paul's like, I've been there. I want you to be here where I'm at, where I have this freedom and this out of bondage feel. He said, because I know what it was like to be in bondage. You may not even realize how bad it was. I do. I was the epitome of the bondage keeper. So we'll go right back to that verse again. Galatians 5:1. Stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. This has kind of been our go-to verse for this whole study. It's about quit. I don't want you to be in bondage. I want you to have the same freedom that I feel. And I think that's not just, and I'm not picking on different denominations or different sects. I think every church does that to a point. Oh no, if you don't do this, then you can't be part of the fellowship. You know what I'm saying? If you're not involved with this, or you're not in with this, or you don't follow this rule, or you don't act this way, or you don't go to these places, then you can't be part of this. You know what I'm saying? We still have, even as open as our church is, and as loving as our church is, as welcoming as our church is, we don't believe in not having anybody, but we still can exclude people in certain areas because we don't do certain things or act certain ways or go certain places. And this is what I think is killing churches, is because we're making conditions on grace. Well, you can be saved, but you got to do this, or you got to do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And people realize, I just can't do that. I cannot be, if you have to put rules and regulations on me to be saved, then I just can't do it. And people come in church and they're like, why even try if I can't? I get on a game. Tammy will tell you, I like playing NASCAR now on my PlayStation. I quit eating supper, really. I started doing my little drinks for supper. And it helps, but I get hungry. And so I'm trying to find stuff to keep my mind occupied. So I get on there and I race. And I went through the dirt series, Miss Debbie. I wore them slam out. I almost won every race. I was bad to the bone. And then I got into truck series. And whoa, I was flying around whooping everybody. And then I got into what is it, Xfinity series? Is that how you say it? Xfinity series. And Tammy tell you, I was mad as a wet set in. I'm like, look, I got the trick, I got the gas all the way down. They're just leaving me. What the crap? Why play if you can't win? You know what I'm saying? What's the point? At least give me a fighting chance. If I wreck, I wreck. If you outmaneuver me, you outmaneuver me. But if I can't even keep up with you, what's the point? That's how I was looking at it. Why even come to church if I can't abide by the rules that you make me abide by? Why even come in here and try if I can't keep it? That's where Paul's at with this. And so he says, I want you to have freedom from the law and freedom from bondage. So now watch this. So then we get into Paul's afflictions. Paul says, I don't want you to be like I am, y'all. I want you to have freedom. Rest of 12 and 13. Brethren, I beseech you, be not as I am, for I am as ye are. Ye have not injured me. Listen, you ain't hurt me at all, y'all. By getting into this stuff, you're not hurting me. I'm still free. Just because you think you've got to abide by the rules, you're not hurting me. You're just not. Ye know how through infirmity of the flesh I preached the gospel unto you at the first. He said, you remember when I preached to you the first time? I was sick. And if you study this out, there's a lot of questions over. Some people said he may have had malaria. Some people said he had the eye disease and things of that nature. They know that whatever, when Paul was first in Galatia, most scholars believe that he was there to recover from something else. And so he comes in there going through a lot of infirmity. He is sick as a dog, and yet he's still preaching. He said, guys, y'all know I was not capable of doing anything, and yet I still preached the gospel to you. I still did what I was supposed to do. Well, he wouldn't fit in today, Miss Debbie. I can't come to church. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, yeah. I'm sick, my whole family's got to stay home, including the dogs. Nobody. That's how we do. Watch this, because I want you to get this. Anybody watches sports? one of my big issues with sports nowadays is I sign a $20 million contract to play football, and I get hit in a game and bruise my shoulder, and I sit out for the next 6 weeks. You know what I'm talking about? People, I jammed my little finger, I can't play. Come on, man. I see people get out there with broken arms and legs and get out there and play. Back in the day. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Back in the day when they played sports, an injury didn't matter. You just going to get out there and you're just going to go, regardless. And I always go back to this dude. Y'all heard me talk about him before. Y'all remember this guy, John Stephen Akwari? One of my favorite people ever in the history of this world. And it's just because of his story. He was a Tanzanian runner in the marathon in the Olympics of 1968 in Mexico. And he had trained and was one of the best runners. There really wasn't many in this marathon. In fact, there was only like 75 runners and only like 17 finished. So, I mean, this was a pretty intense thing. But where he had trained, the elevation was a lot different than the one that he was going to be running in. And so his body was not adjusted to this. And so when he got to running, he got lightheaded, he fell, he dislocated his knee and messed up his shoulder pretty bad while he was running. And you can watch this, I got the videos of this. So the news crews, the stadium's slam packed full. It's the last event of the Olympics. And everybody's up there in the stadium, and you see all the runners coming in. They talk about the winner, and they'll ask you what his name was because nobody knows. But anyway, they come through, and they got all these people. And over an hour later, there's only just 1,000 or 2 people left in the whole stadium. Somebody comes and says, there's one more runner coming. And the news crew runs out to catch him running in. This is him. He's got his knee all wrapped up. He's all messed up. He wants the video of him coming in.
Starting next week, we're going to keep attendance here.
All right.
And then at the end of the month, you get the perfect
Good deal. So he's running. He's coming in. There's nobody left in the stadium hardly. The news crew's out there, and they record him, and they're like, he runs across the finish line, and they're like, dude, really? I mean, you're in last. It was no big deal. You hurt yourself. There's another run coming up. 4 more years you can run again. Why would you even continue to do this? Here's what he said. He said, my country sent me 5,000 miles to finish a race, not to start one. My God sent me here to finish a race, not to start one, and not to quit when I get sick, and not to quit when I start feeling bad, not to quit when I'm ill or when things ain't going the way I want it. God sent me to finish a race. And Paul said, y'all remember how sick I was, and I still preached to you. I still shared the gospel with you. I still did what God called me to do. You don't think I don't love y'all? I mean, I could have given every excuse in the world not to preach to you. I could have laid up in a bed somewhere and just been laid back and chilling. And I would have had every reason to do that because I was sick. And here's the thing I want you to get when I was reading this study. He said, you got to remember, they didn't have like hospitals and rescue squads and first aid kits and stuff like that back then. So when people would have some of these diseases, it was nasty. Imagine some of the diseases that people have nowadays without all the first aid and the bandages and the ointments and the stuff that they would have had back then. Imagine how nasty and how it would have stunk. And they really believe that Paul, something was wrong with his eyes. We'll see that here shortly too. But they think that he may have had pus and stuff coming in. They've been just nasty and stinking. And he said, even with all that, I loved you so much that I still told you about the gospel of Jesus. And what happened? Verse 14. And my temptation, which was in my flesh, ye despise. No, you didn't hate me because of it. You didn't tell me to go on because of it. You didn't tell me that you won't want nothing to do with me because of it. Nor rejected, but received me as an angel of God, even as Christ Jesus. He said, y'all loved me when I came in. Where is then the blessedness he spake of? Remember how y'all loved me back then? What's going on? I came in and I preached the love of Jesus, and I preached the gospel to you, and you took me in and you loved me. For I bear you record that if it had been possible, you would have plucked out your own eyes and had given them to me. I really believe that y'all loved me so much and that y'all were so kind and so gracious that if you could have took your own eyes out and got rid of that disease in mind, that you would have given me your own eyes. I believe you would have took food off your own table, Miss Debbie, to make sure that Miss Ann had something to eat. Bobby, I think you would have given your gas money to Scott to make sure that he got to work next day. I believe that. That's what Paul said. I believe you would have went out of your way. What happened? I came in and through all my infirmity, through all my sickness and everything that I was going through, I still showed you the love of Jesus, and you loved me back. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Do you really think that I hate you just because I'm trying to be honest with you? Do you really think that I'm such an evil person that because I stand up here and I tell you the truth of the word? Sometimes when we preach, we get messages that ain't popular. I know Tracy and them joked one time they weren't even here, but they listened online, and I don't remember what the sermon was, but Tracy said, well, we're just going to go to church and get our stuff to leave. It's off the hearts. But sometimes we're saying that's what God gives you, and you got to preach harsh words. You got to preach the truth, even if it ain't comfortable, even if it don't sit right, even if it don't look good. Don't mean I don't love you. Actually, it's just the opposite. It proves that I love you. Because I love you enough to tell you the truth. And Paul said, man, I come in sickness. I preached to you even though I was sick as a dog. You loved me and took me in and would have given anything in the world for me. And just because I tell you the truth, now I'm your enemy? Where's this coming from? That's what he's saying. Where's this coming from? That ought to tell you that I love you. That's a hard lesson, Miss Dave. So Paul's loyalty to the Galatians. I want to get through this. So Paul's going to show what true loyalty is. Now, remember, they've had all these Judaizers coming in here and trying to tell it, well, you might be saved, but if you don't do this, you don't do this, and if you do this, you got to do this. If you do that, if you don't do this, you got. They're trying to lay all these rules and regulations down on the saved folk, right? And so Paul's fixing to tell them, all right. So let's distinguish between the loyalty of them and the loyalty of me, all right. So the first thing was a false loyalty. Now watch what he says, verse 17. They zealously, in other words, they're very vibrant about this. They're very charismatic about this. They're really big on this, y'all. They zealously affect you, but not well. Yea, they would exclude you that you might affect them. Here's basically what they're doing. They were basically just buttering them up, Miss Ann. They were telling them, hey, all the good stuff, all the we got those prosperity preachers that do that. They don't get into the negative stuff. They don't get into it's all positive, all loving, everything's good, everything's kosher, everything's wonderful. And he said they're bringing you in, but when they bring you in, if you don't give, they'll drop you like a hot. What is it? Hot sack potatoes? So let me read this. I saved this, and I was going to put it on there, but I didn't. Let me read this. Anybody ever heard of Warren Wiersbe, the writer? This is something he wrote, and I want to read this. Beware of that religious worker who wants your exclusive allegiance
because he is the only one who is right. He will use you as long as he can and then drop you for somebody else, and your fall will be a painful one. The task of the spiritual leader is to get people to love and follow Christ, not to promote himself and his own ministry. And this is what they were doing. The Judaizers were trying to get them to follow their stuff. And if you didn't, they just cast you out, Miss Dave. Everybody saying? You come in this church, you don't wear a dress, you ain't welcome here. Oh, you come in and sit, we'll preach to you, but you ain't singing, you ain't in the choir, you ain't doing it. A lot of churches do that, Miss Dave. Even though there's no Bible to back it up. You see what I'm talking about? That's that traditionalism stuff. And I'm not busting on certain things. That's just one of those things that's how we push people out. That's how we push people away. And we say, you might be the best Christian in the world, but if you ain't wearing that dress instead of them pants, I don't want nothing to do with you. It don't make sense. This is the rules they put on. Now watch this. Just so you don't think I'm just grasping at straws, let me give you the words of Jesus. Matthew chapter 23, verse 15. Now, if you got your Bible open and you've got one of them red letter editions, you realize this is Jesus speaking. And Jesus said, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites." Y'all see that? Mama would have had a world of a time with Jesus. She'd be like, "Gee, come on, Jesus, you ain't got to be all that first. Come on, man." She said, "You bunch of hypocrites! For ye can pass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves." He said, you go out of your way to get somebody to listen to what you got to say, just for your own purposes. Paul said, these guys don't care about you. They don't love you. They love themselves. So a faithful loyalty, real quick. So the truth of Paul's loyalty, look at verse 18. But it is good to be zealously affected, always in a good thing, and not only when I am present with you. He said, ain't nothing wrong about being zealous. There's nothing wrong about being excited. And the fact of the matter is, I don't even have to be there, Miss Debbie, for y'all to be excited. I want you to be excited about the grace and the freedom that God has given you, whether I'm there or not. I have been taught that all through business school, all in my life, in the restaurant business, everything I've ever worked in, and even in church. I've heard this. The sign of a good leader is how well things function when you're not there. And David Murray goes on vacation, this church should still function exactly the same way it does when he's here as when he's not here. When I'm at work and I leave, it should still function exactly the same way as it did when I leave, because a leader molds people, and those people can still do what needs to be done when I'm not there. And Paul said, listen, I want you to be zealous. I want you to be excited. And don't wait on me to get there to do it. Y'all will do it. It's not about me. It's about him. It's about the grace. It's got nothing to do with me. Don't bring me against them into the picture, because that's not what it's about. It's about you and him. That's what it's about. It's got nothing to do with me. So watch. The tenderness of Paul's loyalty. Watch this. Verse 19a. My little children. Won't that have changed from what he said earlier? That is a Greek word, that teknion, that literally means darlings. My darlings. My little children. My babies. That's basically what he's saying. See, oh boy, he done changed big time, Miss from you foolish Galatians to my little children. See how everything's done switched now? It's like, guys, come on. I don't want to have to be this harsh, but you won't listen, Miss Ann, if I don't. I mean, I remember that as a kid, they'd have to go off the deep end on Tracy. They could ask me because I listened. They'll God don't like ugly, yeah. This is where he's at. He's like, y'all understand. I do it because I love you. You're like my children. I'm telling you the truth because you're not doing right or you're suffering or something's wrong. I'm just trying to correct you. Yes, sir? Probably not. That's a lie straight from hell is all I know. Yeah, that was some idiot that said, yeah. Because this old boy said, he said, if that's the case, let's switch places. So here we go. Understand this. This word teknion is used all through the book of John. John was the love apostle. We know that, the apostle of love. And he used this term, teknion, many, many times throughout the book of John. You know how many times Paul uses it? Once. And he's at this point, man, I have reamed you out. I have given you a fit. I have fussed, and I've griped, and I've pushed, and I've punched, and I've humiliated Miss Debbie. I just absolutely went off on you. But I want you to know that I love you. You're like my own kids. So what was the test of Paul's loyalty? Look at 19b. My little children, of whom I travail in birth again until Christ be formed in you. Paul said, it's not about, what I'm telling you has got nothing to do with what you do after you're saved. It's got nothing to do with the outside. It's got to do with the inside. It's got nothing to do, Miss Debbie, with what you do today that concerns your grace. It's got to do with what's going on the inside that I'm concerned about. Because the outside, people are going to see you. But if it's coming from the inside, y'all know what I'm talking about. What would they used to say, Scott? Beauty's only skin deep, but ugly's to the bone. You meet some people, and I've known girls that I went to school with that I thought was just drop dead gorgeous, Miss Debbie. I'm like, whoa, boy, she's a hottie. And then you talk to her for 5 minutes, and you're like, no, she's not near as pretty as I thought she was. You know what I'm saying? You meet those people that may look good on the outside, but the inside is rotten to the core. And this is what Paul is saying. He said, I'm not concerned about what you do on the outside. I'm not concerned about what you physically, I'm talking about what's on the inside. He said, because that's where the grace is at. Grace has nothing to do with what I do outside of the body. Grace has to do with what's on the inside. He said, and I want you to be Christ-like. I want you to be free. I want you to be zealous about Him, not zealous about following rules and regulations. And here's where he gets into the tone. He said, I desire to be present with you now, and to change my voice for I stand in doubt of you. He said, I don't want to sound harsh, Bobby. I just don't. I don't want to sound like a jerk. I don't want to sound like I'm being demeaning. I don't want to sound like I'm being mean to you. That's not what I want to sound like. But guys, there's an issue here.
You leave me no choice.
Yeah, you leave me no choice. This is all I can do, Miss Deb. If I don't, you're not going to listen to me. Y'all know what I'm talking about? If you got kids and they're little, you say, don't go there. Now, in my house, if they said that, as soon as they turned their head, Tracy was gone.
Yep.
Right? Still does that, Miss Mom. My mom, don't she? She'll say, don't you do that. Tracy will do it anyway, don't she? She gives one of these days. So, but you know what I'm talking about. You say,
if I say, Tyler, and I'm real nice about this, dude. Say, Tyler, please go out there and weed eat behind the garden. It might get done. It might not get done. But if it don't get done, he comes in the next day and I'm like, didn't I tell you to weed eat behind the garden? Or ask you to weed eat behind the garden? No. Then why didn't you weed eat behind the garden? I don't know. Is that what the answer for everybody? I don't know.
Fletcher's favorite word.
Yeah, but guess what? He's probably going to go do that, right? Because I've called him out on it. Sometimes we got to be called out on stuff. Sometimes we need the preacher to get up here and absolutely stomp all over our toes. Ain't that what we say? I heard a preacher one time said, if you're in a church and you don't come out one of two ways, you either come out floating or you come out limping, then you wasn't in church. Either God has uplifted you or God has knocked you slam down, Miss Debbie. One of the two. That's what church is. When we come in here, he either needs to lift us up or he needs to knock us down. And I think...
I said, I've been limping too long. Where's the way? Oh,
you don't know what I'm saying. We come in, and Paul was telling these folks, listen, y'all, I don't want to sound mean. I don't want to be a jerk. I don't want to preach hard on you. I don't want to sit there going, to me. I don't want that. But sometimes, there's just sometimes, Miss Debbie, where God says, I got to give it to you straightforward. Because some people, that's the only way they're going to take it. If you come up here and say, now, church, let's please don't do this. I can promise you, by the next Sunday, half the church done did whatever it was he said not to do. Just because he said don't do it. You want a good example? Now, church, y'all don't bring drinks and food into the sanctuary. Watch this morning how many people's in here with drinks and food. I sit up here, I can see it. And he's asked that nicely. But if you get up here and say, hey, I don't want no more food or drink in this building, Miss Betty's going to have a heart attack. You can't talk to them like that. That's what she's going to say.
Quit saying talk. Quit talk.
But you know what I'm saying? I just, you're a good example. Y'all know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying, though. Sometimes you've got to be harsh. Sometimes you got to be right in their face, because some people just ain't gonna hear it no other way. They just ain't. And Paul said, listen, y'all, I showed you love, you showed me love, and then as soon as I try to tell you the truth, now I become your enemy? Come on, y'all. I tell you the truth because I love you, not because I hate you. And this is where Paul is getting into this. And next week we're going to get into, and I ain't even got a chance to look at it, 21 through 31, the story. And we'll see what that is. I'm curious to see where that one goes. But we're going to wrap up the rest of 4. I thought that was a good lesson, honestly, when I read that. That was pretty intense. Kind of humbling in a way, Miss Ann. Because honestly, there've been times in my life I'm like, all right, Miss Ann, did you go tell the preacher what I did this week? You know what I'm saying? Somebody been talking to him. Somebody said something.
A lot of people too. I mean, that's not even just religious. That's life.
Yeah.
You know, people. Most of us that get spoiled by it because you're being so nice. You know, we take advantage of that. What's that? Give an inch, take a mile.
Yep.
You know, and that's not even religious. That's just
Yep.
life.
And I do. I like people. I think there's those times when some people never differentiate. They're harsh all the time.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that concern me. Because they're not really loving you. They're like the zealous Judaizers. Huh? I was pointing at that screen back there. I was pointing at that screen back. I was above your head. Above your head. Oh, anyway. But y'all know what I'm saying? I don't know why I keep coming back to them. Them jokers up here at that festival get up there and screaming at people. Show some love. I mean, it's okay to be harsh every now and then, but show some love. Show people that what love really is.
The difference between firm and hard.
Yeah, there is. There is.
Harsh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're mean. That's not harsh, that's mean. If I tell Sam your hair's messed up, Sam, that's being nice, and I'm being honest. I'm not being mean. I'm being, you know.
Sounds looking good.
Yeah, you'll see. But anyway, I thought it was a really good lesson, and
Well, talking about those guys,
yeah,
we were there and paced them, and just as we got past them, we come across my niece and her two sons. And her two sons, the first thing they said, did you see them, and I forget, what is it they say in them Bible
thumpers.
thumping, they said, you know, and they're not saved, you know, and they were talking about them being in their face and all that, you know, and I thought, you know, how are you gonna win them to the Lord when you
Yeah, they're like this already.
you're beating them,
Yeah.
you know, you got to love them first. You got to love them first.
All right, guys.
Let's remember Lynn, she's been doing what good, said please pray for her, she's having a bad day.
Okay. We will. Scott, if you will, go ahead and stop that back there, please. Live in the thing. All right, guys, let's pray. Father, we're thankful again for your word. We're thankful for the day that you've given us. We thank you for the lesson that you've given us, God, and I pray, Lord, I've got a lot out of this lesson. I pray that others have, and I